You know what? I think this is it. This is the one that's gonna get demonetized. There's no way I can talk about this movie and still make money out of it. So let's do it. Hello everybody, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, I'm Eric. I have a stutter and I say a lot of stupid shit. And today we're gonna talk about Showgirls, one of my all-time favorite movies. Unironically, by the way, because I know it's polarizing. If you've been alive and you've seen movies, you know Showgirls, the 1995 erotic drama starring Elizabeth Perkins, fresh out of Saved by the Bell in her new raunchy adult role. And the story follows a young drifter trying to make it big in the entertainment showbiz in Las Vegas. And the first time I watched this, it felt like the director's wet dream playing out on screen. There's a lot of nudity. I'm gonna try my best, but there's a lot of clips that I can't show because there's a titty somewhere and YouTube is gonna... I forgot what I was saying. I'm baked to filth. Okay. But when it came out to the home video market, it got a cult following. People started recognizing that there were satirical elements to the story that could actually be applied to America in the 90s. People started seeing this as more of criticism of the culture of excess in the United States. What people demand, what they want is essentially sex everywhere at all times. It doesn't matter if you're in a strip club or you're on the biggest stage in Las Vegas, people only want to see tits and ass. And I can see those elements spread throughout the movie. They do make some very few far in between good points. They hit the points, but it doesn't feel like they want to hit them because they never go anywhere with them. They never do anything with it. They start a lot of conversations, sort of, but then they add nothing to it. It's like they open up the subject and then just walk away. And you're left dealing with the mess. I think the director even tried to say at a later date that it was his intention all along to be so satirical about it. And I call bullshit. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. Can you tell I'm baked? Fuck. So if The Room was a turd, Showgirls would be a polished turd. The flaws are still there, but it looks nicer, you know? It sounds nicer. It tells the typical story of the young ingenue trying to make it big. But usually the ingenue is always a good person, a likable character, but Showgirls said, that. Let's give them the most obnoxious, unbearable person and put her at the center of this movie. And thus was born Nomi Malone, the young drifter who is angry at literally everything and really wants you to know that she's not a whore. The first time I watched this movie, I hated Nomi Malone because she's so obnoxious. You just want to slap some sense into her and some basic manners. But the more I watch it, the more I realize that no, she's just a bad bitch. I've come to appreciate Nomi Malone for being so unapologetically nasty. And to me, that's kind of an icon. And I'm glad that she found a niche of fans in the gay community because we know the gays love a good, strong, powerful woman. But I also think the film kind of tanked her career for a bit. You know, she became kind of the pariah. It didn't help that her performance was so peculiar, you know, specific. But nonetheless, she remains an icon in my heart. Elizabeth, if you're watching this, you rock. Honestly, send this to her. Loved you in Showgirls. Love the movie. I know it's terrible. Look, let's be honest. This movie was like a cultural reset. And if it wasn't, it should have been. Was it good? No, it was terrible. But it was terrible in a way that felt artistic. You know? It's like you can see a toilet in your bathroom and it's just a toilet, right? But then you go to a museum and you see a toilet, but it's not just a toilet. It's also a very long, obnoxious explanation as to why that toilet is special and means something to the artist. And I can appreciate the value of both, you know? Sometimes you want to see a toilet in the bathroom, in the privacy of the bathroom, because you need to go. And sometimes you want to see the toilet in a museum so you can look at it and laugh and think, damn, it's good to be alive today. So if you've seen Showgirls in the past and you want to relive the best it has to offer, then stick around. And if you haven't, then join the ride and watch Nomi Malone at war with subtlety for the entire film. But before we do, make sure to hit that subscribe button down below, click that bell notification so you never miss a future upload from me. Next time that we look at more trash, I have a lot of trash on the list The next one has to be Ben and Arthur, the worst gay movie that made me wish I was straight, kind of, so I wouldn't have to watch this kind of shit. I also have to do 365 Days, the last one. That trilogy is gonna send me to my grave. But I'm also dying to cover Dear Evan Hansen, the musical that made me hate musicals. And when I was a kid, I wanted to be a musical theater actor. That was a powerful one. Showgirls introduces us to Nomi Malone, our hero, our unlikable protagonist that you're gonna wish would shut the fuck up and take an Advil. Calm down. She's hitchhiking her way to Las Vegas and catches a ride with this guy who's trying to make small talk with her, and her response is to pull out a knife on him while he's driving. This man is giving her a ride and making small talk, and she threatens him with a knife. So that should give you a general idea of who Nomi is. So on the drive, we learned that Nomi wants to be a dancer. She wants to perform. So the guy tells her his uncle works in one of the hotels and could potentially get her a job. Once they get to Las Vegas, he's like, yo, go inside the casino for a bit and I'm gonna talk to my uncle. You can leave all of your stuff inside my car. Be right back. And Nomi, who's so far very defensive, you'd think she'd have like some common sense and be like, actually, I'm just gonna carry this suitcase with me. But no, she leaves it inside his car. Note to the writer, who's a man, I'm assuming, if you're gonna give us a strong female character who is very much about self-preservation and self-defense, she knows how to take care of herself, making her do this really dumb thing is very disappointing. Straight away. Strike number one. There's gonna be a lot of strikes. Nomi realizes all of her stuff is gone. She's been conned and starts hitting a car because she needs to get her anger out. And the only way to do so is throw a tantrum like a 3-year-old and hit a random car. And in comes said car's owner, Molly, the best character, the best and only good person this entire movie has to offer. And after an altercation, Molly saves Nomi from getting run over by a car. Molly is an unbelievably good person. I say unbelievably because I don't genuinely see anyone being this nice in real life. But they go for a meal together, and in conversation...
Different places.
Molly decides to help her and offers her a place to stay until she can get back on her feet. She just invites this total random strange woman that was beating her car up to live with her in Las Vegas on the is it called Vegas Strip? The night strip? The party strip? The light strip? I don't know, I've never been. But this movie made me want to live in Vegas, so kudos to them. We jump to 6 weeks later. They're still living together. Molly works as a costume designer for one of the biggest shows on the Las Vegas Strip. That's it, Las Vegas Strip. Is that it? I think that's it. And Nomi works as a stripper at Cheetah. And one day, Molly invites Nomi to the backstage of Goddess. And we get a little insight into the backstage of a Vegas show. Very cutthroat, everyone for themselves, nobody's friendly with anyone. They seem to really hate each other's guts. But Nomi is mesmerized by the atmosphere, by everyone's costumes. I gotta say, this movie really outdid itself in terms of costumes. And then the performance scenes. In one of the performances, there were literal motorcycles on stage. Hello. And as you can imagine, no, I cannot show you almost any of the performances because there's gotta be titties in every single shot. Imagine, like, frantic, overly sexual dancing, and they're butt naked. And then we see the superstar of the show, Crystal, played by Gina Gershon. I think that's how you pronounce her last name. This woman, my God. Guys, is it weird to say that this was my sexual awakening? Given that I'm, gay? It was this movie and Bound with Jennifer Tilly. Yo, go watch that. I don't know why I was so into it, but I was. They were both such bad bitches. And they were hot together. Yeah, Gina and Jennifer sitting in a tree, doing a fucking great movie. Ooh, that rhymes. And Molly, being Crystal's personal costume designer, introduces her to Nomi. And when Nomi tells Crystal that she works at the Cheetah, Crystal makes a a passive-aggressive remark, if you can call it that. Honey, if you're working at Cheetah, there ain't much dancing to what you do. She's got that southern twang that I can't really replicate. She insinuates that Nomi is a prostitute, which we'll come to learn is a very big no-no. It's because of her past, guys. Nomi snaps, tells her to fuck off or something, which kind of puts Molly's job on the line. You know, Molly, the one that gave you a house and food for free for weeks while you got back on your feet. It's very selfish, but as we'll see throughout the rest of the story, that's what she is. She is very selfish. When Molly confronts Nomi about putting her job at risk, Nomi somehow just flips the situation and gaslights Molly into taking her out. Honestly, every time I see it, I'm just like, damn, she is good. She's very good. And that's where she meets James, a guy who tells Nomi that she can't dance, but is willing to teach her. Nomi, defensive as always, knees him in the balls and causes a fight between him and a bunch of other guys. And James is a bouncer at this club, so he loses his job. But hey, karma's a bitch, because Nomi gets kicked out of the bar and then put in jail for the night. The day after, James bails her out because, you know, he's already lost the job and got a kick in the balls. Might as well continue trying, but Nomi has no time for him or for any thank yous or any apologies. She don't know any of that. She gets in a car with Molly and adios. I'm so Here comes one of those moments where I think the movie actually was telling a good story unintentionally. One of the nights we see Nomi working at the Cheetah, and we see a scene in the backstage, and we get to see like the dancers interacting together, just like we saw the dancers at the backstage of the Stardust, the Goddess show at the Stardust. And there is quite a stark difference that at the Goddess show, everything is very individualistic. You know, there's no sense of community. No one really helps each other. They're all really nasty and passive-aggressive. No, not passive-aggressive. They're just full-on aggressive. Whereas at the Cheetah, they're kind of just like all taking the mick out of each other, taking the piss out of each other. They're all just being very playful. Like, the girls at the Cheetah would help you hide the dead body, right? Whereas the girls at the Goddess would call the police and then go to your house and steal all your shit. And this is, of course, a critique on society. You know, the more elitist you get, the more individualistic and selfish it becomes. You can't stay at the top if you keep helping people next to you. And that night, while Nomi is dancing on stage and licking the pole, one thing that we gotta understand, okay? Everything in this movie is excessive. Her performance is excessive. Everything is just more and more. I feel like whatever Nomi did on set, the director's note would always be more. And when you think you're doing too much, trust me, baby, you are nowhere near where you need to be. More. She's dancing at this club, and in comes Crystal with her boyfriend, the cowlick Zach. Zach is the entertainment director at Stardust. And I like to call him Cowlick because it does look like his hair was licked by a cow from one side to the other, and then it just kind of got stuck there like a Lego piece. So he's either Lego Man or Cowlick guy. Whatever comes out of my mouth, it's him. And Crystal ends up paying $500 for a private dance from Nomi. And it's a very long, elaborate scene of many. They get to the private room, and Nomi is only meant to be giving the guy a lap dance while Crystal watches and, I don't know, intensely eagers them to go harder with her eyes. Again, I can't show any of the dance because she's fully butt naked. Like, fully. There's no bottom part either. I hope she's not rubbing herself against too many people's clothes, because that doesn't feel right. Elizabeth got to set that day, and the director told her, you, jump on his lap. Pretend you're getting electrocuted. And when she did, he said, great, now do that again, times 500.
I want to make history. And that's what this is.
The more erotic scenes are very intense, very borderline aggressive. She's just so intense that she has to get it out of her system too fast. And you can't do that in a moderate, sexy way. You have to have full body convulsions to try and expel the demon. And lucky for us, this is not the last time she does this. And though Nomi didn't enjoy giving this private dance, she felt probably humiliated. And I'm sure that Crystal's intention was to actually humiliate Nomi, put her in her place for snapping at her earlier. But Nomi gets approached by a producer. Let's call him Pig. Yeah, Pig is a good name because he's a pig and he's gonna do piggy stuff. He's a piggy, and he deserves to be treated like a pig because he's a pig. It's kind of a risky move calling him a pig specifically when everyone here pretty much is a pig. Yeah, fuck it. Producer Pig. Pig the producer. PP. Double penetration. That's what that man needs to loosen up. What? Shut up. She gets approached by this producer because the show Goddess has an opening and they're gonna be auditioning for a new dancer. And she gets a personal invitation to audition because Pig the producer saw her dancing and thought, that's some good shit. But Nomi deduces pretty quickly that it was probably Crystal to humiliate her. Maybe, maybe not. But you know what? You got an audition out of it, so shut up and go. The audition scene is misogyny on steroids. The director really wanted to drive home the point that show business is a bad place for women. The only way for you to make it in the entertainment industry is to sell your body, figuratively and literally. You have to be okay with being treated like a piece of meat and acting like an eager to please piece of meat. The casting director goes down the line and insults them individually. One of them, he's like, oh, you came back after I told you to fix your nose. Great, your nose looks good, but now go fix your ears. They're too pointy. Another one tells her to go home and lose the baby fat while pinching her cheeks. Nomi gets to the top 3 or 2, and this is when they really pumped the misogyny with like growth hormones and steroids and like really made it work hardcore. The guy approaches Nomi and tells her to get her nipples hard, and then he's like,
I'm erect. Why aren't you erect?
He then gives her some ice cubes for her to use to get her nipples erect, all while Crystal is in the audience, watching, smiling, her devious plan coming to fruition perfectly. She speaks to Nomi in the backstage area, and Nomi's crying finally. She says she hates Crystal. And it's unclear whether Crystal's plan was to just humiliate her or whether it was to teach her a lesson while still seeing some potential in her. I think it's the latter. Crystal sees something in Nomi. What it is, I don't know. I've seen her dancing, and just like James told her earlier that day, Nomi dances like she fucks. But I genuinely think that Crystal sees something in Nomi, but she also wanted to take her attitude down a notch or two, and, got the casting director to be extra piggy with her. And he was. Shaken from this experience, Nomi runs into James, and this is when James says something that I think is so on the nose. This is one of those moments, again, that the movie hits the right point, but then does nothing about it. Like, just leaves it completely here. He says that at least what she's doing at the Cheetah is honest, because they're upfront about it. They say they want to see tits and ass, and so she shows them tits and ass. Whereas at the Stardust, they pretend like they want to see this more artistic endeavor, something beyond just stripping, but ultimately all they want to see is tits and ass. And guess what? They also get to see tits and ass. You may dress it glitzier to make it more appealing and more elitist, but ultimately the whole point of both shows is exactly the same. And that's a great point that they make momentarily for like 2 seconds, and then we abandon that completely. We go back to James's place because James is working on a dance number, and he wrote a part specifically for Nomi. So we're left believing that after knowing her for a total of 2 days and interacting with her for a total of 3 minutes, during which he lost both a job and had to pay for her bail and got into a fight and a knee to the balls, he decided to write a part for his new dance show that he's been working on. When did he start working on it? 20 minutes ago, before getting to this job as a valet that he just quit for her again to take her someplace? This man has now lost 2 sources of income because of Nomi. She's not even kissed him, but that's about to change. They get to his house and they start dancing, and the dancing turns into a lap dance, and the lap dance turns into an incredibly long, wet, uncomfortable, full of tongue kiss as she rubs herself on his crotch. Can't show any of it because, again, her titty is out. The director had to maximize the amount of minutes that she was naked on screen. And as the kiss heats up, if it was even possible to get deeper into each other's mouths, she tells him to stop because she's on her period. And I shouldn't be laughing, but the way they play it is so funny. Again, Can't show it. There's a titty on screen, but just imagine. She says she can't. She's on her period because his hand is going down there. And he replies with, yeah, right. As if to say, you don't need an excuse. You can just say you don't want to sleep with me. And to prove him wrong, she tells him, check. And he checks and he pulls his hand out and sees that there is indeed some blood down there. And she stands up, fully proud of herself for proving him wrong, for proving to everyone that she is not a liar. And he tells her, it's all right, I got towels. And then she goes back to him and very intensely looking him in the eyes says, you can f me when you love me. Okay. And as badly as the audition may have gone, Nomi eventually gets the role and she is elated. So elated that she goes back to James to tell him, but finds him there with another woman. Turns out, James don't like monogamy. Turns out, James didn't just write this part for her. He wrote that part for whoever gave him. The first performance that Nomi has is very intense. Again, the costume design, the set design, very pretty, very shiny, very glitzy, very everything. It goes well. She receives flowers from Lego Cowlick Man, congratulating her on a great opening night. He wants her. But as great as the performance went, she needs to work on her turns. And guess who volunteers to help her work on her turns? Crystal. Because, again, we need to exploit the sexual chemistry between these two characters. I found it so surprising that they didn't get these two to smash. Like, they edge us the entire time to then just deliver such a disappointing conclusion to their arc that really says nothing but kind of says everything. It's very poetic and very bad. But the whole ending, I mean, we'll get to the ending, but the whole ending is just where the movie really failed. Crystal takes Nomi for a meal and a glass of not champagne, but Cristal. Is that how you say it? Crystal. Has her name been Cristal this entire time? Because if it has, then I'm so sorry, but I'm going to keep calling you Crystal. They realize some similarities between them, namely having been fans of Doggy Chow as children. I don't know what Doggy Chow is. And then the conversation turns to Nomi's tits. I apologize in advance for using tits so much. Like, it feels wrong to be saying so many times, but that is mainly the name that they use it in the movie. Should I call them breasts? They spend a good couple minutes talking about her breasts and how pretty they are and how perky they are. And that gets them talking about the cheetah and how Nomi didn't like working there because she felt like a whore. And Crystal's like, but you are a whore. But Crystal clarifies that they're all whores because they're all selling their bodies. They're all selling the image of their bodies to other people like they're all whores. It doesn't matter if it's classy or not. And I would argue that anyone that uses their image to make money, that is being a whore. Kind of, right? Could that be classified as calling a whore? Because then I'm just calling every content creator out there a whore. You're selling your image that people can look at for whatever reasons, you know? And depending on the nature of those reasons, they could be included in a category that would classify this as selling your body for sexual pleasure, even if it's unintentional or without your involvement. Damn, are we getting deep today or what? Crystal is a manipulative little minx, and she takes Nomi back to the theater, and they start practicing these moves. And of course, because there's two women on screen right now dancing, it's got to be incredibly sexually charged. There's got to be a lot of chemistry and will they, won't they? And then Crystal disrobes Nomi and starts teasing her nipples to then say, see? Told you were a whore. Oh. Ah! She said this as she was about to kiss her. Damn. Crystal first proves to her that she is indeed a whore, and then recommends her for this side job, this side hustle, which is to perform at a boat sales party for like a few hours, and it pays $1,000. And Nomi immediately jumps at the opportunity, like, of course I'm gonna do this. It's $1,000, and it's just her and one other girl, so it's like a great thing. Molly tries to warn her that it's not actually good. She knows girls that have gone and haven't liked it, but Nomi decides to go anyway. And lo and behold, it's just a ploy to get Nomi and this other girl to sleep with very important, high-spending clients. And who arranged it all? Pig producer, double P, double penetration. Nomi, again, at war with subtlety, storms off, pushing everybody out of the way, and then speaks to Lego Man because he told her before that if she ever needed anything, she should talk to him, and so she does. She explains the situation, and Lego Man's like, oh, no, no, not on my watch. He calls Pig the producer to the stage and tells him off in front of Nomi, proving himself to be the true white knight. But guys, this is the 90s, US of A, Las Vegas, it's Showgirls. Of course, he was only saying that to impress Nomi and gain her trust, because as soon as she leaves the stage, he calls Pig, the producer, back and tells him, I was just joking, come back, you asshole. Because not a single man in this movie is redeemable. Not a single man, except James. And that night, there's an accident. Pearls are thrown on stage. There's basically been these two dancers, right, fighting in the backstage, and something's got to be said by the way they handled this. The two dancers are a black woman and a white woman with really long braids that she should probably not be using because it's not made for her type of scalp. And this white woman has two children who are bothering everyone, especially the dancers who are about to go on stage and are probably very nervous and trying to get ready in a rush. But of course, it's only the black woman that screams at the children, telling him to get the fuck out of there. And then this white woman with a box braids grabs a handful of pearls and throws them on stage so that the dancer holding the black dancer slips and falls, sending the dancer flying to break her knee. And Nomi saw it and doesn't say anything because, as we'll see soon, you scratch my back, I scratch yours. This whole side plot was important to advance the story, like the plot of having the pearls hurt that dancer because that dancer is Crystal's understudy, which means that someone's going to have to audition for that position to be that much closer to the main role. And obviously, Nomi is now going to audition for that role eventually when the time comes. So it was important to advance the story in that sense, but the way they did it felt very problematic, dare I say racist. They have the white woman have a black hairstyle and then have the black woman be the main antagonist, a loudmouth, angry woman, and then have the white woman injure the black woman, get away with it. After this performance where the dancer gets hurt, Lego Man offers Nomi a ride. Thankfully, she says yes. He asks her, where do you want to go? And she says, take me to your place. And then they get to his place. Did I mention that at the strip club, she rubbed herself on him so much that he basically came in his pants? If I didn't, okay, so this whole time he's been like eager to get in her pants again because, you know, last time they were together, she made him come without even touching him down there. Oh, I'm gonna get so demonetized with this. So they get home and immediately clothes go flying off. She jumps into the pool fully naked. Then comes Lego Man, also fully naked, with a bottle of champagne and two glasses. Say what you will about this absolutely horrendous haircut, but this man actually has a really nice behind. Like, yes. Okay. He gets into the pool, and you can really see why this movie got an NC-17 rating, because the first 2 minutes of them kissing, it truly feels like it could belong in a porno. I was watching a porno, fully convinced, yep, these are two porn actors from the 90s, they're very well known, and I'm just now watching a porno in the middle of this other kind of porny movie. And then it takes a diabolical turn of events, and I say diabolical because, I don't know, some demon may have possessed Elizabeth while filming this. This was another day that she got on set, and the director told her to hop on his lap and pretend to be electrocuted, this time under this stream of water falling on all over your body in a sexy way. And when she did the electrocution scene, he said, great, now do that again times 500, and she cranked that shit up. And we get what I think is my favorite, you know, hanky-panky scene of all movies. I don't think any other scene will ever beat this. It is beyond hysterical. It is beyond camp. I love whoever decided to keep this in the edit. I love whoever gave this direction because this will forever remain like a piece of history, of important history. If you haven't seen the scene, please go see it. It's impossible to discern what the intention was behind this. It wasn't to make it hot. It wasn't to make it sexy. It's just bizarre. Bizarre. But they do some very intense hanky-panky, and the day after, he mentions that they are going to be holding auditions for Crystal's understudy. And she's like, would you have told me if I hadn't slept with you? And he hits her back with a, well, you're the one who asked me to bring you here. And I like that in the story, she doesn't get taken advantage of all the time. Like, in fact, I would argue that she takes advantage of Lego Man as much as he does of her. I mean, it's a mutually beneficial, sexually charged relationship. And I think that's healthy. You get the sex and you don't get the drama of having to be in a relationship. She auditions, and of course, Lego Man gives her the role. And this is when, like, everyone starts kicking off, like the producer, Crystal, the other producer. They're like, you're thinking with your dick, clearly. Like, why are you choosing her? And they have a point or two or three, but he is the entertainment director and he's the boss. So he tells her that the role is yours, and she's super elated. And then we have another little chit chat with Crystal. For some reason, I guess Nomi wanted to make amends with her and go over and try and make peace. And this is another iconic scene. Nomi being super heartfelt and genuine, like, hey, I thought that we could have like a fresh start. And then Crystal looks at her and says, I'm not sure I want you to do mine. I'm getting a little too old for that hoary look. Crystal, the main bitch that never fails, she's like, oh, you thought you were gonna make peace after getting the role of the understudy, trying to claw your way to my position. Just hold on a minute, let me put you in your place. Crystal threatens to leave the show, even calls her lawyers and says if they give the role of the understudy to Nomi, she's gonna walk out. Nomi is pissed off. She confronts Lego Man because she's like, yo, you told me that I got it, now you're telling me that I can't. He's like, well, she called her lawyers and you're just not worth it. And then Crystal gloats in front of Nomi and all of the other dancers, but Nomi's smarter now. Nomi has become cutthroat like no one else. So they have another performance. Again, can't show anything. Everyone's breasts are out, literally. They have outfits, just missing the breast. Iconic. And then after another very intense dance scene between Crystal and Nomi, they run to the backstage. Nomi's behind Crystal and shoves her down the stairs. I don't know. I feel like the inside of Crystal's body would have been a soup by now. And when asked who was behind Crystal, if anyone saw anything, Nomi said she was behind her, but didn't see anything. She must have just fallen. And then in comes the white girl with the braids, who threw the pearls under the other dancer's feet. Because Nomi kept her secret earlier in the movie, she now has Nomi's back and says that she saw Crystal slip. You scratch my back and I'll scratch yours. But Molly knows that the white racist is lying, and Nomi probably shoved Crystal down the stairs. And now that Crystal can't really threaten to leave the show because she had to leave anyway. Now Nomi is the superstar. After the performance, Lego Man invites Nomi to a party where Andrew Carter is going to be. Andrew Carter is Molly's favorite musician. She has the biggest crush on this white dude with long, luscious blonde hair. And so Nomi sees this as an opportunity to reconnect with Molly and tells her, come with me to the party. Andrew Carver's going to be there. I can try and get you guys to be introduced. I can get you to meet your biggest idol. But Molly has the moral compass of a soldier. She tells her no, she doesn't want to go to the party. Have fun. The movie so far, totally acceptable, satirical, maybe, comedic, yes, hitting some good spots. But at this point, the movie has become a victim of its own design. Molly decides to go to the party anyway, because, I guess in her heart, she always finds the power of forgiveness. Remember, Molly is the best person to ever exist in Showgirls and gets the biggest mistreatment of any of them. She goes to the party and Nomi introduces her to Andrew Carver. Molly's super starstruck, and Andrew, of course, he's a pretty fan, invites her for a drink. And in this next scene, trigger warning for SA, very intense and explicit. If you want to skip ahead, I'll leave the timestamps down below because no one should hear this involuntarily ever. It's intense. It's a lot. But basically, Molly is taken upstairs, and then Andrew, with the help of two of his security guards, they all assault Molly. It's a really long sequence, and it's very explicit and violent and just unnecessary. It felt very exploitative, like the director wanted to make a point, but to make the point, like, did you need to... Molly gets taken to the hospital, and Nomi is pissed off. She obviously wants Andrew's head on a stick. But as she'll come to find out, men stick together more than flies to shit. She tries calling the police, but Cowlick Man tells her not to because he knows who she is. Her name is Polly. And he confronts her about her past because when she gave the show her personal information, some stuff didn't add up. And then they found her fingerprints the time that she got arrested at that bar, after assaulting James, and they found her true identity. Her name's Polly. Her mom and her dad are both gone from a murder-suicide. And she escaped from the foster system and had to basically prostitute herself to survive. And now she's faced with a choice of going to the police and exposing her own dubious past, or keeping her mouth shut and letting Andrew get away with it. In return, Molly's going to get a substantial amount of money to open her own clothing shop. Andrew's going to be allowed to have a Las Vegas residency and the potential to lure loads more women into his room. And it's not like he tried to seduce Molly first. This is the thing. It's not like he tried to do it consensually. He just straight up called his lapdogs and they all attacked her. Like, it was purely made for sadistic reasons. And that's the worst part. But Nomi decides to take matters into her own hands, and she arranges a little get-together with him at his hotel room because he was a fan of her show. Seduces him in order to beat him up. She kicks him fiercely. Oh my god, it is just... It feels like a man's idea of what a strong, powerful, vengeful woman looks like. Like, she has all the makings of an overly sexual Black Widow that doesn't do jumps in the air, just kicks sexy. Oh, she's got really cool red pasties on her nipples that the guy spends about a minute sucking on before she beats him up. Like, what? It is, how exploitative do we have to get? But anyway, she beats him up, kicks him a lot, he's on the floor, and then she leaves the room. And I guess that's justice for Molly. Woo! Go Molly! She goes back to the hospital and tells Molly, interrupts her much-needed sleep. This woman needs to sleep, but Nomi had to go interrupt her and say, hey, I went to his hotel room and I kicked the shit out of him. And, all good now. Yep. I can't help but think that in a man's head, this is like, okay, Molly was hurt physically, so Nomi has hurt Andrew physically. Obviously, they're even though one cannot even be compared to the other. But that's how it comes across. I don't know if anyone else felt that way, but yeah, this is why this ending really sucks. And ready to go on the run again, Nomi swings by Crystal's hospital room, and she looks great for someone who would have certainly died from that type of fall. And she reveals to Nomi that she knows it was her, but she's not going to tell anyone because at the end of the day, she kind of needed a rest, and her lawyers managed her to get a really good deal out of Stardust, while also implying that that is exactly how she got her start in show business as well, by knocking down the competition like Nomi was doing. And as Nomi's about to leave, Crystal's like, well, aren't you gonna give me a kiss goodbye, or something stupid like that? And we get another very long, erotic kiss. It's just an unnecessary kiss to close this really confusing arc of these two characters. And just like that, Nomi hitchhikes again, this time on her way to California. And who happens to pick her up if not the man that gave her the ride in the beginning of the movie, the one that stole all of her stuff? Remember that guy? Well, she's gonna get revenge now. And that's the end of the movie. Like, what is there not to love? I just wish they had done more with Crystal and Nomi's characters, because I feel like there was a lesbian storyline to be explored there. I feel like they could have easily done one where, like, they're so obsessed with that position of goddess, head of the show, and they become infatuated with each other and enter an intoxicating sexually charged relationship, and somehow that leads them to become superstars of the biggest Las Vegas show. But no, instead we get two women who just play a game of cat and mouse the entire time for the male gaze, because this is made by men for men with women. Take away the third act completely, like rewrite the whole thing, and you actually have a really good story in your hands. I just wish it had been intentional, because if it had, they could have made it a little better. And that is it for Showgirls. Oh, I love this movie so much, as you can tell. Been talking about it for hours. This is gonna be great to edit down. And yeah, guys, what did you think? How great is Showgirls? Whew! And with all of that said, I hope you enjoyed this video, guys. Thank you for tuning in. If you like this video, feel free to leave it a like down below, subscribe to my channel, leave a comment with your favorite scene from Showgirls. Was it the pool scene, or was it the strip club scene? Or was it the kicking scene? Totally forgot. This is where Versace comes from. I'm never saying Versace any other way other than Versace. Versace is where it's at. Versace, it's where we are. Versace. And until next time, stay safe, stay sane, stay stupid. Go stream Showgirls, and stay stuttering. Bye, guys.